Aloha, my name is Lindsey Smith. This is the Summer Bee 2014 World Music Cultures class. This is my final project. For this project, I chose to research and report on Hans Zimmer and his compositions with African and Hebrew influences in movie soundtracks. So Hans Zimmer was born in Germany in 1957. He started composing jingles and working with individual bands in the 1970s. He was in the music video called Video Killed the Radio Star, so if any of you know that song. He worked with bands mostly until the 80s and started composing film scores, collaborating with other people in 1987. His first major independent film score was Rain Man in 1988, and he won awards for that and was highly recognized for his work on Rain Man. This PowerPoint's focus, as you can see, is The Lion King in 1995 and Prince of Egypt from 1998. So The Lion King was released in 1995. The music that Hans Zimmer composed for this particular movie was heavily influenced by traditional African instruments and music. Obviously, since it's a movie about lions in the Sahara and their tribes and whatnot, and African animals, it's going to be African music. So Hans Zimmer composed the score. He didn't do the singing songs, the vocals, but he did do the instrumental music for it. And he had a lot of help from Lebo M, who is a very prominent African singer. He's Zulu, and he does a lot of work with the African music in popular culture today. This is a picture of him right here. That's Lebo M. And he is also the lead singer in a lot of Hans Zimmer's pieces, as well as the other vocal pieces. So going to African music to start out, I wanted to highlight these two instruments here, called the marimba and the kalimba. They're both idiophones. The marimba is kind of like our keyboards, except for they don't have sharps or flats on, like the black keys on a piano. In the African marimbas, they just have one row of notes, and they're very wooden sounding, very rich and ethnic sounding. The kalimba is similar, but very small, similar in sound. It's made with metal little rods, and it's over a hollow gourd, and it sounds like almost like a music box, but a little more clinky and ethnic, and it has that wooden echo to it, being over the gourd. These two instruments were specifically mentioned by Hans Zimmer when asked about composing this music, and he said he really liked the African flavor that they gave to the music, and he liked to use them in active scenes and chase scenes because they're just really active instruments. Another element of Zulu music is chanting and choirs. Often these choirs will be clapping and moving with the music. A lot of percussion is used, both idiophones and membranophones. And music is very connected to the way they live their lives. There's celebratory music, there's ritualistic music, and there's a lot of music that's just for dancing and for movement. So I'm going to show you a little bit of this music. It's called One by One. It's composed by Lebo and it's traditional Zulu music, but sung by an American children's choir. Well, high school choir. You'll see. So we'll load it up here. So that is one of Lebo M's pieces, and you can hear the style is really similar to Lion King music, where they have the chanting, and it's all a big choir singing the same words, but different music. They're different pitches, so it's kind of like gospel choirs now, just with African sounds and African music and a different topic. So examples from The Lion King. This first one is called Under the Stars. It's an instrumental piece. The elements that I found from African music included membranophones, idiophones, there's some chanting, and the free-sounding vocals over the chanting, and it's very dance-like music, very active music. It's music that you can tell that the Zulu people would use if they wanted to move, if they wanted to feel like they were dancing. So I'll play it and you'll understand what I mean. I'm just going to play the last part of this piece. So you can really hear the similarity between that and One by One, where there's the chanting, the big choir in the background, everybody singing the same thing, and then one person singing over the top of all of that. The second one I wanted to show is the Circle of Life. The elements include ritualistic themes, there's chanting involved, there's the free vocals over the top, and a lot of idiophones. The interesting thing about this piece is at the very beginning, there's that very distinct, very unique Lion King part of the song where it's one man singing this. It's not a chant, but it's almost like a call to the rest of the village from this one person. And the story behind it that I found from an article on this soundtrack was that they heard the Circle of Life and they wanted to add more African elements to it, so they asked Lebo M and said, what should we add? How do we add this to the beginning? And he said, well, you could try something like this. And he started singing, and the first thing that came out of his mouth was what's in the movie today. So it's very close to the African roots, where they just are very improvisational. They're very impulsive with their music. They just do whatever comes to mind, whatever comes out of their heart, right when it comes to them. And it's very cool. So I'll play just the first little bit of that. So you can hear the chanting in the background, as well as the top vocals at first that are very characteristic of that African Zulu sound. So this next soundtrack that I wanted to highlight a little bit was The Prince of Egypt from 1998. The story is the story of Moses from the Bible. So the music that Hans Zimmer wrote mixes traditional Hebrew elements with Egyptian elements as well. So the Egyptian elements, there's lots of aerophones, some idiophones, and membranophones. It's very minimalistic music. It doesn't go super over the top with what it's doing. It's very minimalistic and small, but also complex at the same time. The Hebrew music is it has a floating sound to it. There's minor vocals, lots of aerophones, also some membranophones and idiophones, but mostly aerophones. And the scale that the Hebrew music used, I noticed, was very, very similar to the Egyptian music. So it was easy for Hans Zimmer to mix Egyptian and Hebrew music together. This first video is some traditional Egyptian music, so I'll just play the first little bit of that, so you can get a taste. So that's just a little flavor of the ancient Egyptian music, and what Hans Zimmer took from that was mostly just the style and the scale, not necessarily the instruments. Here's some Jewish music that I thought was very interesting and that was used in Prince of Egypt. Well, I'm going to fast forward it just a touch. So again, that I just wanted to focus on the scale. So this is an excerpt called Goodbye Brother, that the last part uses a lot of those scales. This is from The Prince of Egypt, and I noticed it had a lot of similar modes and scales in it.